If the Gallagher brothers can put aside their differences before the Oasis reunion tour, which opens tonight, if you've got tickets, you lucky thing, can Prince William and Prince Harry do the same? Not only can they, but should they? And maybe you think their father should be the person to help them, or maybe their two wives should get together. 0207 862 2222. What do you think of that? Liam and Noel Gallagher haven't performed together since 2009, when there were reports of a huge backstage bust-up, and they have a famously acrimonious relationship. But that didn't stop more than 10 million people trying to get tickets to see them. The brothers from Manchester have exchanged words in the press, reportedly have even had physical fights before and after some of their enormous shows, but after more than 15 years, they have put all that aside to take off on this massive world tour, where they're going to perform to more than 900,000 people. So if they can manage it, should Prince William and Prince Harry find a way to put their differences aside too? Let's start with the traitor. You know, reconciliation, collaboration, and all of that sort of stuff.
I think I would love. I'm a fan of the royal family. I really think it's so sad, and that this is sort of this rift has occurred and is ongoing. I feel like it's been going now for what, 5 years or something. I'm someone. I have a brother. I have a very close relationship with him, and I can't imagine that sort of familial rift. But I also think we can't relate to the fact that this is playing out on the global stage. Like, it is the global story, I think. And I don't know how there can be that reconciliation when then there's that risk of more stories being sold, more books being written.
I'm the person that thought that when they did that walkabout to look at the floral tributes after the late Queen died, I thought that could be the moment. I suppose I'm obviously an idiotic romantic, but I just thought, look at them, they are all walking together, they're all feeling the same kind of grief and shock, and they're all enduring the same scrutiny in this moment. So maybe this means they could collaborate and cooperate in all sorts of other moments, and maybe this is the moment. I really did think that. I mean, I suppose I was really hoping it would be true, so I just really thought it was true. And then it just wasn't true at all. It was just one moment, and they reverted to this terrible animosity, which seems to have deepened and worsened. But I should tell people, Sam, you're not just here as Sam Delaney, you are one of the extremely famous Delaney brothers. So this whole sibling thing is a huge thing, and I've had the pleasure of meeting. How many of you are there?
Well, there's 4 brothers. Yeah, I'm the youngest of 4, and we used to fight physically like cat and dog when we were kids. My poor mum, she raised us on her own. It was just 4 boys fighting and arguing all the time, and yet we are extremely close. No matter what happens, all the terrible things we've said and done to each other, you're so close. And I know, like, when, you know, I saw these years of Liam and Noel going through these kind of public spats, and I always knew that they would get back together. And I know the same about William and Harry.
Oh, you think they will?
I know they will, because when you've got a close relationship with a brother, there are a number of things that only that brother will understand. A lot of them are jokes. You know, a lot of them are little funny things that you see in life. But there's also certain things that these 2 boys have experienced that no one else could ever possibly, you know, relate to or empathise with. And that engenders a huge bond. At the moment, if you've got 2 wives who don't get along, that really gets in the way, and it can do for years. And I think that was the case with the Gallaghers as well. But eventually, that bond will still be there, and they will get back together. And these spats are very superficial level, I think, from my experience.
And just to say, for the Delaney brothers, how many of you are in the same trade, in the same business?
Well, none of them. I'm the only journalist.
But they're all in media and advertising and big deals.
I'm the only journalist. My brothers all, not anymore, but for a while they all were they made adverts for a living. Yeah. And sometimes they work together. And sometimes we have worked together. And that's a real flashpoint. That's something that I probably won't do again.
Don't mix
it's
that.
much nicer when you're just hanging around at your mum's for Sunday lunch and talking about the football. Once you start working with each other, which William and Harry have had to do over the years, they're in the same firm as well. You know, that's a problem. So it might actually be good that Harry is taking a break and he's gone freelance. I believe that's what he calls it. Now he's freelance, that might give them a chance of healing the wounds.
All right, let's bring Belinda into this. Can you see the making up? I really loved it when Sam said he knows they will. I loved it when he said that. I really want to believe that's true.
I think it would be, I think Harry's a liability at the moment to the royal family. I feel incredibly protective over the royal family at the moment, especially with Princess Catherine and King Charles going through cancer. The last thing they need now is welcoming someone back into the family that weaponises and monetises private conversation for his own gain. And he is hot with revenge at the moment, Harry. And I think until that calms down, may it be 10 years, 20 years, I do hope they reconcile. But I'm afraid that book Spare, the way he hung William out to dry, you know, it's one thing brothers pushing each other. It's a totally different thing to talk about it publicly and hanging poor William out for global criticism about him pushing Harry and how awful it was. And I mean, that for a brother, I think the sort of humiliation, because he knows that William can't respond.
Absolutely.
Harry and Meghan know all the accusations they throw at the royal family. The royal family are never able to publicly defend themselves. So there's a cruelty in that.
Yeah.
So until he grows up, quite frankly, and until Meghan perhaps takes a step back from constant self-promotion and self-praise, then I think it would actually be quite damaging to the royal family if Harry was welcomed back just yet.
We're taking calls on sibling rivalry. Also, we're talking about William and Harry, but we're also talking about people's own relationships with their brothers and sisters. And Amanda's on the line in Lancashire. Amanda, you've got proper animosity going on between you and your sister, I believe.
Oh, yeah, you could say that. I did go for a period of 7 years without ever speaking to her.
Right.
When my mum passed away, she'd always wanted us to speak, but made the effort, unfortunately, when she passed away, found that she hadn't changed, and they haven't spoken to her again now for about 4 years.
I mean, what sorts of things did she do that were so extreme? Because there will be people watching thinking, what on earth could Amanda's sister have done that means that she couldn't even reconcile when their mother was dying and at least, you know, pretend to be friendly? What has she done to you, do you feel?
Well, she's stolen from my mother.
Oh, gosh, OK.
And denied it. And then on the last one, she actually made threats to myself and my son.
Oh, I see.
And
okay.
you don't threaten my children, so...
Is she a very troubled person, would you say? Not really.
She might say that. Yeah, I mean, she's banned from my funeral if I die before her.
Oh gosh, banned from your funeral. That is quite extreme. I mean, have you had lots of fallings out with other people, or is she really the only one, Amanda?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I am perfect, but she's the main person that I've fell out with.
Yeah.
Basically, like I said, you don't threaten my children and sort of get away with it.
Well, I totally get it. I mean, that's a bit beyond the pale. You can't be threatening your nieces and nephews.
That's
Definitely not. I totally get that. Although, Sam, I bet you would feel that there will be a sort of void in any life without your siblings in it.
I think that when you hear about people going through these kind of things, you know, usually whether it's Harry or anyone, it's because it's coming from a place of pain and it's coming because they're going for a really bad period in their life and eventually they're going to come and want or need forgiveness. And a lot of people won't give that, but family usually will.
Yeah.
You know, they usually, even in the worst moments, when you're right, you know, William sees this, he's hung him out to dry, I can't believe you did this, but he will understand it down. He's doing this because he is suffering really badly and he's lost control of his mind, you know. And eventually, when someone comes back and says, I'm really sorry, I think most of us, we don't forgive everyone, but we forgive blood.
Forgive your blood.
If there is an apology, I think absolutely reconciliation will come when there is that kind of forgiveness and apology.
I read this thing actually not so long ago, which was just one of those things that's posted on Instagram, you know, a niceness. But it's really nice, and it said something along the lines of, you know, you have a parent for X amount of time, you might have children for Y amount of time, but you have siblings for your whole life. You know, they travel through life with you. Yeah. And I thought that was genuinely quite meaningful. They see you through every single phase. They see you through your whole childhood and hopefully your whole adulthood, you know, assuming you aren't estranged from each other. And I think that's so special to have that personal people that know you through that whole life phase, and that's really special.
I think your brother could have stepped in and said, maybe just lost the Welsh accent before you If he really loved you, he could have stopped. I'm only kidding. Let's go to Maria in Portsmouth. Hello, Maria. Thanks for ringing. How are you?
I'm good. We've just got to look at this as simply as we can. They're two brothers that went through some of the hardest stuff we could ever imagine ourselves in the most elitist of ways. But unfortunately, one brother has married somebody who wanted to be bigger than her sister-in-law. This isn't about the brothers, it's about the wives. And Meghan didn't like the fact that she couldn't outdo Kate. And she didn't like that. And then it's now spread to all the stuff that we're seeing is from that. And I hope the brothers could come together. But unfortunately, the way she's in charge, and this is what we have to see. She's in charge of him, and this is where it's going, unfortunately.
You see, lots of people will be thinking, Maria, that you're projecting because you don't really know, and you're imagining, and you're making Meghan the baddie and the bad fairy and Malevola and all that, Maleficent or whatever her name is, and that's mean and unfair. Except, of course, all the people who've read this week the revelation about the Queen's cousin, Lady Elizabeth Anson, and all those. I don't know if you've seen those, but what they're saying is, and she's now passed away, so nobody can phone her and check, but that she is supposed to have said that Her Majesty the Queen herself felt that it was animosity between Meghan and Catherine that was really fueling all of this. So I can't really call Maria out this week. I would have done last week, before I read that, I would have said, Maria, this is all about you. But this week I can't say it. Maria, lovely to hear from you. Have a great weekend. Let's talk to Emily in London. Oh, Emily, you've had a real feud with your brother. Is it still going on?
Yes, it's. I remember it well. It was the August Bank Holiday 2002.
Oh God, that's so long ago.
I know, and it split the family in half. And for some time, most of them didn't speak to me. That's eased a bit. But the thing is, sometimes it's beyond repair. I mean, he's subsequently had 2 children who don't even know I exist. God. And when I visit my mother, I'm described as her friend from London. So they clearly don't want to. Build any bridges.
Do you want to? Do you want to build bridges?
I've tried a few times. I've kind of put the feelers out, and the reaction I get. So I've just given up now. I've resigned myself. I mean, they absolutely hate me, and that's a hard thing to say to anybody, let alone on national television.
That is horrible. But do they think you did a bad thing, or has he just never liked you, or what happened?
Well, we never really got on. To be honest, we was never what you'd call close. I mean, I will say on the actual day in question, it was more me than him.
Oh.
But, it had been building up for years, to be truthful. So, if you like, he kind of loaded the gun and I shot the bullets, really.
Yikes. You don't think, Emily, you could have one big bash at trying to sort of mend the whole thing by saying, look, I've just been on Vanessa and I've just told her it was my fault on the day. I was the one that was wrong, and I've told the whole... Look, we've got millions and millions of viewers, millions, untold millions. Think how many people have heard you say this, Emily. Couldn't you say, I've just really admitted it, so come on, let's make up now?
Well, the thing is, I have tried before. I mean, that's not beyond, but I mean, for example, when my mum's very frail and elderly, and he dropped it down to me once, and I said, like, Happy New Year to you and the family, and he just ignored me. My mother kind of forced him to give me a lift once down to just locally because it was pouring with rain, and he really had to go at her putting him. I mean, I think it's beyond redemption. And regarding William and Harry, what's sad, theirs is being played out on the world stage.
Absolutely, and now yours is being played out too on the world stage. Emily, have one more go. One go. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You've lost nothing. Thank you so much for ringing, though. I wish you luck with it all.